Thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Brooke Sutherland, Bloomberg's Boston bureau chief, and I have the honor of being joined by Xerox CEO Steve Bandrowczak. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. My honor to be here.
Well, I thought we would just start. I mean, Xerox is such an iconic American company, and it's one that we all know so well, but I think most people still associate it with printers and copy machines, and you've really been trying to pivot the company away from that hardware focus and into new directions, and I just wanted to hear more about that and what that looks like in practice.
Yeah, Brooke, thank you. We're in the middle of a 3-year, multi-year journey we call reinvention. And the reinvention core is how do you get back to sustainable growth with double-digit operating income. One of the key components of that is how do we leverage the infrastructure we already have today. We talk a lot about AI, we talk a lot about machine learning, and you think about the amount of data that we deal with on a daily basis that goes through our infrastructure. How do we help clients with productivity? So things like intelligent document processing, where we could recognize that a document is an invoice or a document is a contract, automatically put that into a workflow and drive specific productivity. Second piece of that is revenue diversity, right? How do we get into growing areas? We recently acquired IT Savvy. IT Savvy is network as a service, security as a service, RPA as a service. We help clients in how do you think about data in the world of AI. I say a cell phone without a network is AI without data. It's completely useless. So how do we help our clients? In fact, today at Gillette Stadium, we have over 200 of our clients that are going through services and things that we can provide them to drive productivity. So transforming the company, driving it, obviously taking advantage of the big macro trends around AI, RPA, but more importantly, how do we change the workplace? You know, we have gone into this massive difference in terms of the way we work. How do we help transform that? And Xerox has always been in the heart of driving productivity in the workplace, and that's at the core of what we're trying to do.
Reinventing a company, you know, with as long of a history as Xerox has cannot be an easy task, though. And you laid out a number of different initiatives, but where do you start on something like that? And can you kind of, you know, center us in as far as where you are in that process?
Yeah, so the first thing is take a look at the assets that you have and what's the value that you bring. You know, one of the things about Xerox is a trusted brand, and it's really important. In the world of AI, we talk about trust. We talk about who can handle your data, who can make sure that the origin and destination of data is coming from the right place. Who understands how do you encrypt data, secure data in the world of data? We've been doing that for a very, very long time in the world that we're in today. The trust that we have with our clients, meaning that we are in there servicing their devices each and every day. And so how do we take advantage of it? So the first thing is understanding what you do well and then bring new products and services on top of that, right? So that's the whole key of what we're trying to do. How do you think about the physical and digital world? You know, we've been really good at taking digital information, putting it on paper. Well, how do you take it off of paper, and how do you put intelligence around that and drive that? You know, whether you got a mailer at home or you see a marketing campaign, the ability to take a QR code that we normally send out in mailers or we normally send out in marketing material, how do you now make that a interaction of one, you know, marketing of one? And so we're transforming the company to try to help our clients do that.
And you mentioned it briefly, but I did want to talk about your acquisition of IT Savvy. It's a pretty sizable transaction for you, and how does this fit into your transformation effort for the company?
Yeah, so one of the things is we've got over 200,000+ small, medium businesses today. And, you know, the panel up here had tremendous amount of expertise in AI. They have data scientists, they have CIOs, they have people. Well, in the mid-market, you don't have that type of capabilities. You don't have the people, you don't have the capital. So when you think about ransomware, for example, ransomware, whether it's a big enterprise or whether it's a hospital or a school, it does not know the difference. And so somebody who's trying to secure a network in a school or a network on a law firm, they don't have the resources to do that. So what Xerox is now doing is bringing those types of services as a service into the mid-market space. So helping our clients with network as a service. How do you think about RPA and AI as a service? How do you take this consumer world, and we talked about the consumer experience in the sales space a little bit earlier here, how do you help our clients do that? And how do you help them create that? So that's our ability to be able to help in the mid-market. And then in the enterprise space, everybody is struggling with, okay, what do we do with AI? We heard that a little bit earlier, but it's not about AI, it's about the data. You think about the physical data you have in paper. You think about data you have in SharePoint, et cetera. How do you think about video? How do you think about voice data? How do you think about data in motion, like sensor data? How do you think about all different types of data, securing it, and how do you serve it up to AI so that it is actionable and actually drives it? Well, we've been doing that for years in the world of paper, in the world of documents. We're now going to do that in the broader world.
And the last question on that panel was, is AI more of a cost benefit or more of a sales benefit? And I would love to get your thoughts on that as well, and what that looks like for Xerox in particular, both for the company itself and your customers.
Yeah, so I start with the end experience. I don't think about cost of revenue. I start with the end experience. How do we make our client experience better? We talked about things like customer service and what do you do in customer service. So many years ago, if you had a trouble ticket on one of my devices, you called in, we logged a ticket, we'd send somebody. Now today, we sense what that particular error is. We use AI, we send it to a remote support. We call you. We actually send you an augmented virtual reality session, and now 50% of all those service tickets are handled by end clients, and they're 95% happy because they've solved the problem before a technician had to come out. We also use that same entity. We say we service and we've now solved that particular issue. We can now have somebody that's got 30-day experience or 30 years experience because we use technology to help with being able to identify what the problem is, and we use video for training. You don't need to have 30 years experience to be able to fix devices, right? So we're changing the service industry. We're changing the client experience in terms of what we do. Responding to inbound text, responding to inbound voice, using AI, using infrastructure to be able to do that. On the employee side, you think about all the different historic ways in which we've built end-to-end processes, and we've got latency, we've got all types of things that AI can help with, RPA can help with. We're not going to eliminate people. That's false, right? We're going to help them with tools that make their job easier. So I look at it as the end experience with a client, the end experience with employees, and then with my partners as well.
And what's been the response among your employees as you've introduced some of this? Have they been receptive to it, excited about it?
You know what's interesting? It's kind of multiple demographics. On my service team, my early career employees, they're now going to have virtual reality. They're going to have augmented reality. They're going to look at the next generation of AI. They have to be a digital native, and they're all excited. My technicians that are 30 years, like, I just put my hand on my device, and I know exactly what's going on, except when you train them in the world of the new devices, you do it with video. You use AI to help them with, well, this board is a little bit old. We think it's going to fail. Go change the board before you have to go back. And so the adoption, typically the earlier generation digital natives adopted a little bit quicker, but we also see all generations. And so it's been very positive. Sometimes adoption of the technology is a little bit different, but in general, much better. Our finance team used to be the biggest pusher back of AI and technology. Today, they love it. Prediction on forecasting, prediction on cash flow, receivables, et cetera. And so it takes a little time to adopt, but once you see it, no different than any technology in our consumer world, right? We start with a particular technology. We see it for the first time. All of a sudden, we get nervous that Netflix is now marketing to us until they show us the next thing. By the way, Yellowstone's coming out pretty soon, right? And so we do that. We see that coming to us, and now we get used to it, and it just becomes part of everyday what we do.
I can see why a little bit clearer crystal ball might be appealing to the finance folks.
No question about it.
There is so much talk about AI from so many different companies. And what makes Xerox different in this field? What makes you stand out, and how are you investing in position?
We're never going to be and go compete with the large AI companies at all. You heard a little bit earlier today, the niche area, in several things. One, how do you think about data? And we've been playing in that world for a very long time. So if you've got a document that's top secret, you got a document that should only get printed in the CEO office, we've encrypted, we've redacted, we scan documents, we recognize that it's a contract, we can take information off of a contract, index it so that you can play it back in law firms. So we've been doing that for a very, very long time. Origin destination, very, very important. Did a document or did data change from where it was sent from to when it got to the end thing? That's what's happening with AI today. We don't necessarily trust where the data is coming from. We don't trust that it's been changed. We've been doing that for years. So we've got technology that we've embedded inside of our cloud-based solutions and our print devices that can really help with the journey of AI around data. And how do you secure data? How do you think about data? How do you index data, right? And so we've got a lot of different technologies out there that store contracts, for example. But there's no insight and there's no value across that because you don't have technology that says, hey, a particular regulation change, a state regulation change, maybe an interest rate change, maybe the indexing of whatever it may be, and you want to see where all that is on your contracts. You've got to have AI to be able to do that. You've got to be able to. We do that extremely well today.
You did also report your third quarter earnings today. It's been a busy day. We appreciate you making time for us amid everything else going on. But I would love to hear what you're seeing just from a broader demand perspective, both for your traditional hardware business and then this emerging, IT services business.
I think customers are looking for value, right? They're looking for how do you drive productivity? How do you help them with, we've got inflation challenges, we've got cost of capital that's increasing, we've got labor shortages in and around a lot of areas. So what our clients are looking for is how do you drive productivity? As well as this hybrid workforce that we're in today, how do you drive productivity in that workforce? How do you think about it differently? And so we've been helping our clients and working with how do you drive productivity in that space? You think about new experiences, working with hospitals today. The hospitals today, and if you think about the different administration ways in which you have a patient comes in, the way you discharge a patient, the way they go through all the different tests, whether it's dietary needs, whether it's pharmacy needs, the experience in a hospital is not exactly very friendly, right? But all of those are paper document flows that you can now create a new experience. I call it the Disney experience in a hospital. When I walk in, it recognizes who I am, my persona, everything about me, and you walk me through the hospital experience. And so we're working with one large hospital that services and helps children with cancer. How do you change that experience instead of being scary? How do you make it where it's interesting? How do you take and help technicians that are looking at MRIs, that are looking at scans, and take that and tie that to all the different histories of medical records for all, not just patients in a hospital, but of patients within their network? How do you take their medical screening in terms of what they're seeing across the board, and then help them with diagnostics? You're not going to tell them what the particular diagnostics is, but you can bring all that data, you can help them with AI and help them to make better prediction of what the right outcome should be.
And is that where you're seeing a lot of the demand for these kind of productivity solutions is primarily in the healthcare space?
It's healthcare, it's education. You think about education today, right? How do we deal with each and every single university or school is challenged with administration, shortage of administration, language translation, simple language translation, right? How do you help our schools with administration functions? How do you help them with administration tasks? How do you help them with grading papers, plagiarism on papers? We do all that really well. So how do we help productivity inside of universities with our tools and with our products, which ultimately allows for a better experience that they can serve their students?
No, that makes sense. I did want to ask on your hardware business, I know that you've looked into pivoting away from manufacturing and more outsourcing, and I wanted to understand some of the thinking behind that.
Yeah. So in our production business, so if you think about if you walk into a Staples or you go into an Office Depot in the front, you see big machines in there, high production businesses today. Well, we used to manufacture those up in Webster, upstate New York, and the reality is the cost to be able to manufacture that just got so high. I did the IBM PC spin out, was part of the team that built Lenovo, and you have to drive manufacturing and the ability to be able to build it. You've got to use your supply chain, right? Contract manufacturing, we could not afford to do that anymore, and so we're going to partner. We're going to partner with large OEMs to actually make and manufacture production equipment. Our value add will be all the things that we've done around service, all the things that we've done around working inside of environments. How do we help our clients with driving physical to digital? You think about today, we do a lot of marketing, right? We help clients to print marketing materials. Well, if I got a QR code on a marketing material, whether it's a mailer around cars or whether it's around big retail, you see big banners, we now can help them with a QR code that can drive a one-to-one marketing campaign, right? And so while we've been printing and while we've been in the marketing business, we haven't been in the digital side of that. We're now helping our clients to have that physical and digital experience.
And there still are a number of printing companies out there, a lot of them, actually. Do you see opportunities for more consolidation? I mean, I know you just announced the acquisition of IT Savvy, but whether in IT services or printing, is there
I think any industry that is under secular decline, that is having the challenges of cost, is ripe for consolidation. There's no question. And there are different types of consolidation. You could partner. Right? You could partner around supply chain, you could partner around procurement, you could partner around services. We've done a bunch of that ourselves where we help Lexmark on their services side. They manufacture equipment for us. And so there's a variety of ways in which you see consolidation, but I think our industry will consolidate like every other industry, and that would be good for our industry.
You've been in the CEO role for a little over 2 years, and then
Yeah.
you've been, with Xerox since 2018, if I have my dates correct. And
Yeah,
there's been
correct.
a lot going on in the world and at the company in that time period. And I just wonder, as you sit here now and reflect, what have been the biggest challenges, and how does that sort of advise you as you look to the future and think about this ongoing transformation effort?
Yeah, I mean, nobody prepared you for the world of COVID. We were in the process of acquiring Hewlett-Packard. You probably follow that story. COVID hit. We had to pull the offer. Our stock went in half overnight, and we lost $2 billion of top line. So it becomes cash preservation and survival. You then go into the large challenges we saw around supply chain. And then the gentleman who had this seat got cancer and passed away. So I take the seat after 30 months of just a really horrific time in a challenging industry. But we're going to lead this company back to greatness. My mission and my executive team and our board is to lead this company back to greatness. We had the pleasure of putting in a new board in May. So the CTO of Dell and John Rose, the CTO of MasterCard and Ed McLaughlin, Tammy Irwin, who was the number 2 over at Verizon. And so, we got some great board members that have been through large transformation, know technology inside and out, know what we're trying to do, very supportive. It makes a huge difference, right? But this company's been through a lot. This company's been resilient, has been through 100+ years, right? And so everybody asks you, what's the challenges? And you think about what this company's been through and the resilience it's been through. I'm looking forward to getting back to growth and sustainable growth.
And speaking of COVID, I'm sure you have such an incredible, ground floor view of what's happening with return to office.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear kind of if you're seeing more momentum there. We've heard a number of companies reinstate back to office policies. What does that look like?
I think there's
for
a
your
couple of
business?
things. First of all, very few CEOs don't want employees back to the office. That's the reality, right? And it's a balance. It's a balance between how do you make sure that you keep your employee base, how do you make sure that you have exceptions for individuals that have changed their lives and single moms, et cetera. And so for me, I think it's the learning curve and the ability to build teams over Teams or over Zoom. It just doesn't work. In a mature company with mature processes, with mature people, you can live on Zoom for a while. But the reality is you don't have that same sense of commitment. You don't have that same sense of learning. You don't have those water cooler conversations. I think the bigger problem is, and we're starting to address it, is the mental health. I think mental health of people who have been at home, we're seeing a significant uptick of suicide rates, in males particularly. And so, we've got to get people back to socializing again. We've got to get people back to an environment where we can help each other to embrace. And by the way, my daughter is over at Service now. I keep telling her, your next job comes from not the interaction with the 5 people you're dealing with. You don't know where your next opportunity is going to come from. And so I'm a strong believer in back to the office. I think, we're going to see that balance in terms of pushing, pulling, but I think getting back to the office is a good thing for everybody.
And we don't have, that many months left in the year, which means it's time to start talking about 2025.
Yeah.
So as you look ahead, in terms of your transformation effort, what are the goals that you have for Xerox and where do you get to in that process next year?
So keep rolling out our reinvention, right? So getting back to growth areas, right? I talked about IT savvy and what we do in IT services. How do we think about putting more innovation inside of our products? How do we bring more value to our clients going forward? The world in which we're in today is only going to get harder. These offices, and if we're only going to get more complex. The technology landscape is getting more complex. We talked about what's happening with cybersecurity, what's happening with AI, and so our clients, especially in the mid-market, are going to need more help. They're going to need more capabilities. And so what we have been doing is as we solve internal issues, as we're using AI, we're using RPA, we're using network as a service internally, we're bringing that to our clients externally. And so we're trying to help our clients drive productivity, deal with some of the big headwinds that we're seeing in the industry today. How do you deal with the hybrid worker? Where is AI fit? How do you think about AI strategy? And so I'm excited about what we can do. I always tell them I get the pleasure of teaching right here at Northeastern a digital disruption class in a master's program. And I always say today is the slowest technology we'll ever be in our life. For me, that's an opportunity. That to me means that you can lead and you can think about how do you create the art of the possible going forward with technology and solutions that we already have. And I've got to position Xerox to be the one who can drive that for our clients.
Lots of exciting things to come, and we look forward to hearing about them.
Thank you very much,
Thanks so much,
Brooke. I
Steve.
appreciate it.
Thank you.